Hello.
Hello, everybody. Let's see.
Hello, Henry.
Hey, Bert. Let's see. Who else is? I believe that's it. We're all here.
I'm
Uh,
here. Leslie.
Hey, Leslie.
Hi, Leslie.
Hi.
About Karen. Can she make it or not?
Was not able to get a response from her.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Left her messages,
oh, okay.
but never heard back. Um,
I can get my video to work.
okay, let's get started. Um, I don't think we have any minutes to go over. We'll deal with those.
No, I
Some,
promise I'll do them next time. I'll have them ready for next time.
no worries. We'll deal with them next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the important item for today is dealing with the gazebo project.
Okay.
um, and I will start by giving a short presentation. Of course, Bert, please. Uh,
You go ahead.
okay. Uh, I actually saw the meeting with I revisited the meeting with the buildings committee just to get a another take on it. We met with them on the 21st of August, and for the most part, there were questions about, and Bert can correct me on this, uh, primarily about the concern that the gazebo as proposed would detract from the actual guide board, visually, aesthetically, and that kind of thing. Um, and in hearing that dialogue again, what they were saying essentially is that they asked if we had looked at other options that would minimize the the, um, the degree of obstacleization. You know, the way the obstacles that are presented in the proposed gazebo. Um, we uh, we did respond by saying that it was meant to be seen from the road, either adjacent road, Wendell Road, or I guess what is the name of that road coming up on one side there?
Prescott.
Is it?
Right.
Yeah.
Or is it Cooleyville there still?
Um,
I'm not sure.
There's three of them. There's Cooleyville. It's Cooleyville,
it
and
turns
uh,
into Leverett eventually.
yeah,
Le-
it's at that intersection. It's Cooleyville, Leverett, and then Wendell Road.
Yeah,
There you go.
okay.
So, um, yeah, we made that argument. We talked about raising the roof for visibility. Um, and we talked about uh, the uh, the challenges of perhaps trying to do something different. And of course, we didn't have any other options at the time. And we were asked essentially by, I think by, there was consensus. There was a consensus around this that we should maybe look at other options. And one suggestion that came up was the idea of having uh, glass a glass casing of sorts um, that could be open on one of the faces. Obviously, would need to be open to avoid the moisture buildup. Um, and but that was just one idea that was thrown out. There was not, there's nothing really. Again, there weren't many suggestions except that we perhaps do our further research to see if there might be other options. So that's where we are right now. I've been uh, sounding out other uh, instances of guide boards. There's one in New Salem. Has anybody ever seen that one?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, right next to the, whatever it's called, historical museum.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very similar to ours. It's been there. I don't, yeah, I gather it's been there as long as ours, but I haven't heard back from the chair of their historical commission to see how they've dealt with it. It is not protected. Um, and the again, one of the things that I have heard back, and Matteo has been in on this as well. I reached out to the Massachusetts Historical Commission, the person in charge of, I guess, municipal um, affairs, and she was essentially saying, that no, we should not make a replica. That's just historically not a sound idea. We could not make a replica. However, as far as the way what we decide to do to ensure that this thing is preserved by way of protection from the elements is pretty much a local decision. And I think that was echoed by the response from, you were in touch, Matteo, with the, what's the name of that? The Massachusetts Preservation Society, is it?
I so I reached out to Williamstown, but I haven't heard back from them yet.
Oh, yeah.
They're not super responsive to emails.
Well,
But
it's been a short time for this to be happening right away with the holiday and everything. No, but you did reach out to the preservation group in Massachusetts and you got a response from them. Let me just, in fact, why don't I just share some of those responses, including mine, with you? Okay.
sorry, are you talking about the Community Preservation Coalition?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So I compiled all the responses I've gotten so far.
Yeah, and just to clarify for everybody else, the Community Preservation Coalition is a nonprofit organization that is the sort of legal advisor for Community Preservation Act towns. So when funding is used for CPA projects like the guide board, they are the go-to entity to check in with about allowable uses and law and court cases and stuff.
Okay, I'll just start with, let's say I was in touch with the, I guess her name is Jen Doherty. And she's, let's see, she's with the Massachusetts Historical Commission. And as she notes, historic preservation is to avoid creating a false sense of history. No replicas. The features should be distinct and a reminder of the period in which they were created. As for design of a shelter, she didn't have any suggestions. Prioritize simplicity, viewability, and minimize the covering as much as possible. So again, the group of the buildings committee were concerned about the covering overwhelming the actual guidepost. And this is the response that Matteo got. Again, you know, implementing preservation is really a local decision. Anything new is prohibited. Again, no replicas. I assume that's what they were referring to, Matteo.
So that's, yeah, I mean, that's specifically about how to spend the CPA money.
Okay.
If there were a separate pot of money that the town wanted to use for something else, then we could. But
Okay.
but community preservation money can't be used on replicas.
Yes. And but then it says that there are unique situations where the CPC might consider building such a structure to be preservation. I'm not sure. That was a little ambiguous to me, but nevertheless, it doesn't address the gazebo per se. Is that so? There's a lot of local decision making involved here, as far as the design. So they didn't have an answer either, but they recommended looking at secretary standards. This is the national, I presume, the national secretary standards at the Secretary of the Interior. And which I have below that. I checked that out. Those standards are not binding. In this situation, you may get good advice from them, however, and again, that might take a bit of a while. You know, if you want to go beyond the boilerplate documentation. Or we could contract with a historical preservation consultant, provide some guidance, or somebody in architecture who's used to this kind of thing. But just following on, you can see here from Matteo, the reference there was to the National Secretary of Interior, right?
Yeah, that is.
Yeah,
And
that's what the CPA requires, is the
That's right.
national
yeah,
standards.
so they do have, again, you know, they have standards and they list them. The basic standards here, let's see, there are about 8 or 9 of them. 8 of them. I won't bore you with the details of these standards, but there are some guidelines there, and I think we followed them as far as the renovation of the guide board. What I am still puzzled about is a couple things. One is, for instance, the idea of putting the guide board in a building. Would that be an acceptable option, given that it does not reflect its historical function to be inside of a building? Again, number 1 here, it says property will be used as it was historically or be given a new use that maximizes the retention of distinctive materials, features, spaces, and spatial relationships. Moving it, you know, from that corner too far away from the corner may not be a legitimate thing to do.
Well, Henry, I think what it says that in that number 1, where a treatment and use have not been identified, a property will be protected. So, I mean, I interpret that to be that we can protect it.
Oh yeah, but
But the other thing is that the one good suggestion that came out of that meeting was that to move the other things and leave the signpost where it is, to make for better spatial relationship between the 3 main structures that are there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, I don't think that would go over well.
Well,
With whom?
Well, with the town or possibly the veterans, because you'd be moving the veterans
yeah,
monuments, right?
But we would just be moving it back a little bit. I mean, really the only thing that in out of these three things, the only one that has a specific place where it was used is the signpost. The other two things, they could be moved a little bit back or sideways or something to make
well,
room if we were going to build something around the signpost.
Are those other items historic items?
well, they're more recently erected. In fact, within the last 10 years, I think Becky said.
Oh,
Yeah,
more than 10 years.
I don't know. That's what I remember her saying, but
The war veterans one and the grindstone or whatever one.
yeah.
I I maybe Leslie will know. I mean, I thought I remembered it when I first came to town, but maybe I'm mistaken.
The newest veterans structure is probably 10 to 15 years old. The World War II memorial,
Yeah.
the spaces for Afghanistan and Vietnam. The grindstone was pulled out of Quabbin at the time they were building Route 202. It was just about to get paved over. And they made that into the Great World War Memorial, if you read it carefully.
Yeah.
The flagpole was put up in 2014, I think. But that was because there had been an older flagpole from 1931, I think 32, something like that, closer to the church structure. So everybody's right here. Nobody's wrong.
Depends on which thing you're
Well-
looking at.
Yeah.
Well, I think the questioning, the concerns that were aired at this meeting were had to do also with that layout of the arrangement of things on the common that could be improved, but also in light of a gazebo which would take up perhaps a bit more space and.
Yeah, and we would have to move the signpost back a little bit if we were to leave everything else in place. But I guess what I was trying to say is that the signpost has a specific purpose being in that spot. The other two monuments, I don't think it's relevant whether they're there or 3 feet to the side or 6 feet back or something, as long as they are visible. So I'm not sure that there's that it's the same thing as moving the signpost.
It might be difficult to get the memorial to be moved. And the garden there in front is the Memorial Day Committee's thing. It would be something to discuss with the Memorial Day Committee because that's their little
Well,
thing. But I totally agree that the purpose of the guidepost, in my mind, is to demonstrate how our signage has changed since 17 whatever or 1821, whatever date is on that, to today. I mean, that was a rudimentary form of signage.
Mhm.
And that's what our history lesson is about, as far as I'm concerned. It's showing the public how signage has changed.
So you're saying, Leslie, that it should stay?
Near the corner.
Yes.
But safely. And
Yeah.
so it's a big conundrum, and that's why I'm glad I don't vote. I just listen. But it's serving a very nice purpose there on somewhere near the corner.
Mhm.
Anyway, these were issues that were raised at the meeting. But as I said, and maybe I could reaffirm the fact that in the end, I think it was very clear. At least there was one outspoken member of that committee that as far as they were concerned, they were not ready to support our proposal.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we left it at that we would be looking into other options. And of course, you know, ensuring that those options are in accordance with, the various guidelines, so we have a bit of homework. It's just started. I don't know if Bert, do you have anything to add so far?
I don't have anything new. I think that we all agree that we need to protect that investment.
Mhm.
And the question is, how do we do it? And if we want to keep it there, then we need to find a way to protect it from the weather. And I personally don't think that enclosing it in glass is a good idea. One of the concerns that they also brought up is they were concerned that the roof could not stand wind, but whatever cover they put on top of a glass structure is going to be more flimsy than that. So the main thing that it seemed like they didn't like the idea of having any kind of bulky structure around the signpost. And so I don't know how to get around that. I mean, other than either leave it, move it somewhere else. But again, that's
Well,
doesn't seem like something that we would like to do either.
I have to say I agree with Bert that the idea of putting glass around it seems like a really bad idea to me. I'm not a preservationist at all, but like encasing paint and wood inside glass seems like a recipe for trapping moisture and cooking it in heat.
Oh, yeah.
I just see that creating more problems down the road.
yeah.
Not to mention like the cost of it, like repairing it would be even more expensive than a gazebo.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Well, I couldn't find any examples of small monuments wood monuments encased in glass, but one of the I guess it was is Jeff or John Quackenbush on the buildings committee.
Jeff.
Jeff, he mentioned that he'd seen one. Actually, Steve Delmas had seen one as well up in Canada. Quebec City, I guess there's a particular uh, small monument that has a glass casing of some kind. But
Okay.
I mean, from their point of view, I guess what they were also pointing out, and I'm trying to be as thorough here, as comprehensive as I
Mhm.
can. They pointed out that they did point out that if it had maybe three sides or whatever of glass, that it would minimize the footprint of the roof. That the roof could be smaller, less, less obtrusive. You know,
And who's going to be in charge of cleaning the glass?
there you
Yeah.
go. Well, the other thing too is I was thinking, what about reflection of the
Yeah,
sun
I
on
know.
glass?
I
That's
think, Henry, we need to make the point
yeah,
that they also said that we don't need their approval.
that's true.
And
Ah,
if we decide that that's the way we want to go, then we can just go ahead and take it to the
Select
town
board?
for a vote or to the select board before that.
Mhm.
so you're saying that we don't need the building committee. I mean,
We
so
don't need the building committee approval.
this is my sense of things. Is like the building committee, their charge is to reduce the amount of cost and trouble to the town taking care of buildings. And what we're proposing is a new building. But our charge is to protect historical resources. And in this case, those two things are directly in conflict. So like it would be, I feel like it would be good to have them on board. But like you said, we don't need their permission. Like our priority is taking care of this object. But I do think the ultimate decision comes down to the select board, right? Because they are the organization that has jurisdiction or ownership over whatever happens on town common. So if we want to move anything on town common or put something new up on town common, we can make our arguments for why we should do that. But we don't need the building committee to say yes or no. We need the select board to say yes or no. I guess the question is like, are they going to say yes if the building committee says no?
I think that I mean, we can explore other options and see if we get any suggestions. Seems like we're not getting any obvious suggestions at this point from the contacts that you've made. And if we decide to build this, like you say, we don't need their approval. And I lost my train of thought.
Well, just to fill in a little bit, Russ Greco, is that how you pronounce his name? Greco?
Greco,
Yes.
yeah.
He was also pointing out that the roof could be raised. In other words, to give it more air, more visibility. But even having said that,
A few inches, but it would look weird if we put it too high.
okay, yeah. Well, my point is though that even that accommodation didn't seem to fly with the committee members there.
You know, I remember what I wanted to say is that that meeting was somewhat unfriendly. And I just wonder if we stepped on their toes when we decided to build a gazebo without talking to them first or something, if they felt like we were bypassing them. I'm not sure, but I just got the sense that, I mean, they had nothing positive to say.
Huh.
Well, I think though, having looked at it again, heard it back again, there was also the sense that they were not opposed to something to protect it. They're just maybe not as thrilled with the approach. Given the it might be an obstacle. It would dwarf the sign, the guideboard. But in the end, I guess the question is, it always comes down to the question: how much valence is the buildings committee opinion going to have if we go? I guess we won't know until we find out if we want to pursue it this way.
Could we maybe get some kind of an estimate on how much more it would cost to do some kind of glassed-in version that they were talking about as part of our argument on we're trying to do a good job without it being something very expensive for the town, but something that'll last? I mean,
Well,
I would think it'd be a lot more expensive having to deal with the glass, wouldn't it?
Bert, you want to speak to that?
What I don't know much about it.
Okay.
I know that they said glass that would have to be put together with silicone, and that it would be some kind of special treatment. That's what I got from Ross Greco. But I don't have any idea.
Yeah, and Russ went on to say, I think that it was much more specialized to do that, and perhaps we don't have the skills to maybe do that as volunteers.
Right. It's not something that we would be able to do. We have to hire somebody who specializes in that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had two other things. One is I emailed to you guys the pictures I took recently of the New Salem guide board
Oh, yeah.
next to the museum, and also the plaque that is mounted on that guide board. It's much bigger than ours. And it looks like it's been painted fairly recently, although some of the paint is starting to flake again now. And the other thing was that the only thing similar that I've seen, it's not exactly the same, but when I was in Hadley, they have a famous Hadley bell. It's a big iron, I guess, or brass, I don't know, bell that they have in front of Hopkins Academy. And the building inspector, who is also an architect and contractor and stuff, he built the little gazebo that goes around it. I honestly can't remember what the walls are or if there are walls. I can just picture sort of the bell, and it's on a little platform and it has a roof, so it must have sides of some kind. But if you get a chance on Route 9 when you're driving by Hopkins Academy and you're the center of Route 9 and 47 in Hadley, take a look in front of Hopkins Academy and you'll see the bell. I think there may be a bench next to it or near it or something too.
Is that near the museum?
No,
No?
it's on the south side of Route 9. Just if you're heading towards Northampton, just a little past the intersection with Route 47.
Oh, okay. Right.
That's the only thing I can think of that, and again, they did it to protect it as well because it's meaningful to them and historic.
And what is that, Janice? It's a what
It's
did
a
you say?
bell. It's a big
Bell?
bell. Yeah.
And that's in Hadley? No,
That's in Hadley. Yeah.
Hadley.
On Route 9,
Okay.
just past the intersection with Route 47. It's in front of Hopkins Academy, which is their high school. Like in front of them.
I suppose they were thinking, well, I guess having that not only would be an obstacle to visibility, but also, or maybe I'm extrapolating here a bit myself, but it would not be, let's say, consistent with the surrounding architecture. But
that's
I
always a
think
possibility if you add a little more architectural detail that is similar to the time period of some of the other buildings right around the common. I don't know how you do that. Something with the roof. Maybe that would make something of a difference.
I mean, I would be seriously curious to know what the actual periods of architecture are that are represented around the common, because it's very eclectic to me.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the post office, I know that's an historic building that's been there for a very long time, but its architecture has changed dramatically. So I also feel like one of the consistent things that we see when you look back at old images of the common is that its style and the way it looks and its layout, it changes. I mean, over the last 200 years, it's changed to reflect the needs of the community. And I mean, I know this is an aesthetic judgment and an architect might disagree with me, but I don't feel like the gazebo that was in the drawings that Bird shared is radically far off from the other things there. But if you compare the Spear Library to the church to the post office, those are architecturally radically different.
Sure.
And then up against the Veterans Memorial and the Millstone, it's extremely eclectic. So I don't know what the consistent architectural flavor is that the building committee would want.
The post office, of course, is private property and we have no say on what happens there. And you're right that the oldest post office is the center of it.
Yeah.
And way back in the 50s, they built the town hall the building we currently use as a town hall. It is directly lined up with the church, and there was a lot of effort back then to keep the common unified. And in fact, the 1829 town hall and the church were white with green trim purposefully to keep them together. But since then, there's the post office. There's the First Congregational Church that became a residential home. There is the stockade fence that went up around a private home. one of the old cottages that was in back got turned into a very big brown house, modern brown house.
Mhm.
And the view that was in the deed that was always supposed to remain for the first cape heading north on Wendell Road is no longer there either. So you're right, things change. I'm just trying to look up on my phone right now. All of a sudden, when we got talking about this, it occurs to me there's something about, I don't know that it involves a town meeting vote, but there's something about our town common being, in, maybe Janice knows, our town common being open space. Maybe we have to get a town meeting vote to ask the legislature, which always, if the town meeting says yes, the legislature says, sure, if you want to do it. But I'm not sure, all of a sudden, can we just put a building on, a new building on our town common? I know when the library was considering expanding, we either did or had to do this vote for to expand the parking onto the common.
Yeah, it's true. You're right. I don't know what it requires, but it is a form of protected open space.
I'm
Mhm.
and so I don't know how to look it up because I don't know about it yet. But on the other hand, you know, would anybody ever challenge it if I didn't mention it?
Right. Well, you never can tell. If someone doesn't like it, they could challenge it. There's bound to be someone somewhere who wouldn't like it,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's
And
best to find that out now.
Becky Torres was at this meeting, and there was discussion about rearranging the town common. The features that are next to the memorials that are next to the
Uh-huh.
guide board, and it all seemed appropriate, and
Uh-huh.
at least at that point, she did raise something. She asked how her question was basically how much protection you're going to get out of this, given that snow will be flying, with the wind, and perhaps even rain, given the wind up on the top of the hill.
Here it is. It's Article 97. I've got it
Oh.
on my phone.
Oh, okay. It's part
And
of
it
that?
was Massachusetts, an act preserving open space in the Commonwealth, ensuring no net loss of protected open space. I don't know that you would even call a gazebo over something that's already existing there to be an act protecting it, but you guys can read it, or I can figure out how to save it and send it to you. It's Article 97 of the amendments to the Constitution of the Commonwealth.
Okay.
A portal has been created to streamline the submission process by providing an online tool for EEA to accept required documents and easily post alternative analysis. It goes on and on and on.
Uh-huh.
I just Googled Massachusetts government open space and got it that way. MGL Chapter 3, Section 5A. And
I'm surprised Mass Historical wouldn't have mentioned something like that, though.
Not a lot of input there from the Historical Society.
no, and maybe it doesn't apply if it's protecting historical features. I don't know. It just popped into my head
Good idea.
as
Well, they more than likely they deal with buildings,
right.
They don't
And
deal with.
is a gazebo. I bet you, in small towns, things happen all the time that
Yeah.
we didn't even know.
Mhm.
And it's not, it is sort of a building, but not really.
Mhm.
What's the definition?
So the feelers are out. I'm waiting to hear from different places. about
Yeah.
options, and one in particular is the idea of glass, which was brought up by the buildings committee. I just want to check with various places if glass is even, Bert seemed to think otherwise, that, maybe it's not a good idea.
It's not very authentic, I don't think.
No,
Right.
No, I don't think it's authentic at all. And I think, again, I just feel like it's going to cause further damage. But what do I know?
mm,
This is it's a greenhouse effect, right? You're putting this thing inside glass, it's going to cook.
yeah, no, no,
Even
it's-
even if you leave one side open,
Yep.
still you have to. How do you protect that side?
Yeah.
Yep.
And sides that are still under glass are going to be like the sunlight is going to be trapped. Like it just, I don't know. It just seems, and as Leslie said, it's definitely not historically authentic. I mean,
No,
the other thing we present is maybe nothing at all, right? The guide board comes back, we put it back where it was,
Yep.
and the town needs to budget for the fact that every 10 to 20 years
Mhm.
they're going to have to pay even more for preservation work that's in keeping with the Secretary of the Interior standards.
Unless they find that really there's nothing very original left.
Well, yeah, the ship of Theseus problem. Like what is there, that is.
Right.
I mean, I haven't heard more from them from our last meeting. It sounds like they did get down to a layer where they were able to see the original lead paint residue. So there must be something there. But
Yeah. But the one that Janice sent us the photos, that was redone by a group of people, kind
Yeah,
of like
several
Shutesbury.
times. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like Shutesbury's has been done and redone many times in the 50 years, not many times, but multiple times in the 50 years I've been around here. And probably was prior to, I don't know.
Yeah. So getting down to the practical matters of where to go with this. We have, of course, information, compiling some information. I guess we need to decide what, at some point, what we're going to do, whether or not we will look to the buildings committee at all. And finally, how this might be financed, right? Because the deadlines are looming.
Mm.
I'm not sure we'll be ready for the special meeting, the off cycle meeting. Unless we go with the plan as
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Unless we go with the plan. And do we need select board approval before the submittal to the CPC or not? That's usually part of the package, right? So it'd probably be much better if we did have select board approval on it. And if they say no, then I guess we're back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
So do we go, you can see what you can find about what it would take to do glass sides and whatever else, but maybe we should just give it a try with the select board and see their feedback, what they think. And if they agree it's okay, then we can proceed with the CPC application. And if they don't, then we know we're back to the drawing board and don't know what else.
so I think that's the way to go, right? Like, since the select board is the one that has the final approval, there's no point in us trying to get something that they're going to shoot down eventually anyway. I feel like the best option for us as a commission is to say, here are the 4 or 5 options for the guide board when it comes back. Here are the pros and cons of each.
Okay.
Here's specifically what we recommend, and here's why. Like, here's all the evidence that supports this as being the best course of action for it. But ultimately, it's up to the select board. And if the select board says, yeah, we'll go for that, then we go for the CPA funding,
Yeah.
which is available as because this constitutes preservation work. But is there any point in putting together an application for a grant, submitting it, and then having the CPC say, well, without the select board saying that you can do this to their property,
Mm.
right, the town's property, then, we can't go forward. And the building committees are relevant, right? It's the select board really that's
Yeah.
apparently the sort of that bottleneck in whether or not this is going to happen.
And we
How-
probably can't get enough information for other alternatives together in time and to a select board meeting before the application has to be in, right? We're talking less than 2 weeks or about 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I also don't know. I mean, so the Williamstown was really unclear about when in 2025 it might come back,
Uh-huh.
especially if we are moving ahead with the second phase, the roof piece, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just looking at the shared screen, the Secretary of the Interior standards for preservation, number 4 says changes to a property that have acquired historic significance in their own right will be retained and preserved, right? So does that mean that that roof piece, even though it's not authentic in terms of from when it was built, that constitutes item 4 of the standards of preservation? And so they're going to be spending time preserving that. How long is that going to take? I mean, I don't know. I don't have a tremendous confidence that the guide board is coming back really early. But I just don't know. Like, that's the frustrating part of this, is we don't know, and now we're not prepared for when it comes back, because the select board is the ultimate decider, and yeah.
It could be stored someplace. I'm not sure where. This is a question, open
Yeah.
I
question.
mean, it physically will not fit in Old Town Hall. I don't think it will fit in the new town hall.
Yeah.
I don't know, like the town, I don't believe I mean, DPW, I don't know, or the fire department, what kind of space they have in their building.
We will have to put it in the old school.
Will it fit in that door?
Won't go.
Yeah, it won't fit in there.
It may not fit in.
I think we're getting back to, we leave it in its original state, and if the gazebo idea doesn't work, because while you don't need the permission of the
Mhm.
buildings committee, the select board turns to the historical commission for history, they turn to buildings committee for buildings, and it sounds like it's more opinions about aesthetics than actual building construction. But I think earlier in another meeting, someone had said maintenance, but they're supposed, it's their job to turn to all the groups that they have that advise them. So it's nice if you can get a unified decision.
I mean,
And if it's not, if that common is owned by the inhabitants of the town of Shutesbury, so I'm not even sure if it is a select board decision or if it's a town meeting decision.
Ah.
So we need to find that. That needs to be clarified.
But
Right.
but then again, I apologize for being so wishy-washy, but all of the buildings are owned by the inhabitants of Shutesbury. I don't, town common, it just seems like it's more commonly owned, but really all of everything that the select board does is, so maybe I'm way off on that.
Huh.
I do think that putting it back, like if it comes back and a decision isn't made about how to protect it, it's going to be coming back in the, at the earliest, it sounds like in the summer. And moving it is not easy. And I think moving it, especially after preservation work, is going to be especially delicate. But moving it to build a gazebo after the fact is not a huge problem. I think the real challenge becomes like if it's out there over the winter, and we've just paid however many thousands of dollars to preserve this thing, and then it gets battered by, the winter of the climate change winter. I'm just worried that investment in preserving the item is going to be lost if it has no protection more than into the winter.
So
What about what about a temporary I'm thinking here something along the
A
lines
tent.
of, yeah, exactly.
Tent, yes.
Tent.
If all else fails, can we put a darn tent up there?
Come on, that would certainly protect it even more. I mean, but
Then you
maybe
can't see it, so then we're not using it for its original purpose or
it's true.
maintaining
But
importance.
over the winter, the other issue, the other reason to move it a bit away from the road is that the road gets plowed and some of that snow does go up the embankment.
Yeah,
Um, at least that's what I heard.
I've
How
seen
true
it,
that
and
is, I don't.
I complained about it because they would actually push the snow up to it,
Yeah,
and the snow probably has salt in it and everything else. And it's just like, you can't do that, you know.
yep, yeah. So there are reasons for that as well, very practical reasons.
And just visibility, driver visibility at the corner. Can't hurt to pull it back a little bit. Anyway,
Yep. All right, so it leaves us sort of waiting for a decision. We meet on the 17th. Um, I'll do my best to gather as much information. I know others are working on it as well. And I guess among the priorities is to figure out how and when to present this to the select board at this point.
well, if we're going to try to have something, which will probably be a push anyway, for CPC, then it has to be like really soon, like next week or something, right?
Yeah. Well, let's have a look at the calendar.
So the CPC's meeting to vote on the off-cycle grants is the 19th.
Okay. And when's the select board meetings?
They are every other week, so I think they're there on the 10th and the 24th.
Okay, so we only have one select board meeting that we either make it for or don't, depending on if we want to, try for it.
Yeah, the select board meets on the 10th. They meet on the 9th. 10th. Ooh, that's it.
Oh,
Yep.
I wonder if they'll have it the 10th. That's the debate night.
Yeah.
9th and 10th.
And so the 9th is a meeting with the planning board and the select board.
Okay,
Wow.
that's it. That's
And
it.
it's pretty much just executive session, it looks like.
Yeah,
Wow.
there you go. Okay,
Lawsuit.
that's the 10th. The 10th is let's see what's going on there.
There's
Yeah.
nothing on the agenda.
They have an agenda. It's not a huge one. In fact, there's hardly anything on it. Assuming they meet, that might be the date to shoot for.
Yeah, that's the only one.
Yep.
So you're going to see what you can find out about materials for doing a glass version or something like that in terms of costs, some kind of ballpark costs.
Right.
Or what are you looking for from people?
Well, that's the I think any other options that are available from experience.
Okay.
There's a list that I'm on. It's called, what is the name of that thing here? And I believe it's the same outfit that Matteo contacted. Right? It's the Massachusetts Historical Preservation.
No, that's different. So the one I contacted is the Community Preservation Coalition,
Okay. So this is different, and this is where a lot of the historical commission members
Okay.
interact online. So I've posted to them, haven't heard anything, but it was recommended by Jen Doherty from the Massachusetts Historical Commission.
Okay.
So that's a place where, again, more, experience-based options might be found.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah. Anyway.
I mean, glass is something they brought up, but they also said we should maybe explore other.
Yes, that's why
I'm not sure what other
yeah, well,
there is. I mean,
Concrete.
maybe a cement structure.
Yeah, right. That would fit in.
Put it
How
in
about
inside a bunker.
a balloon suspended roof?
Uh,
All right. Any other thoughts then? So perhaps we should divvy up some tasks here. As I say, I'm following up on this list to gather that. I know Mateo's waiting to hear from Williamstown.
Yeah, I'll keep poking them.
Yep. And I will just I will include us or ask to be included on the agenda for the next the 10th, the select board meeting.
okay.
Other than that, I don't know, Bert, what could you be working on this, or do you have anything in mind?
Well, I mean, other than I don't know. I mean, I will talk to the architect and see, if he has, any other ideas, or he knows of anybody in his firm who has dealt with this kind of thing, that maybe there are other alternatives that we're not considering for how to protect this thing. But other than, I mean, I saw that they were talking in one of the standards about an architect with experience in historical, but I don't know any of those, but I can ask and see.
Yeah.
Did they offer to pay for that architect?
Actually, I was hoping that Jeff would submit a different plan since he's an architect.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling there's not a lot of options here, so that makes it easier, I think. But let's see.
I'll see what I can find about the other guide boards. I'm trying to think. Besides the New Salem one, isn't there one? Is it in Hardwick or Petersham or something? Oh, Leslie might know, and I can check in with her.
Montague Center has one.
Well, that's a
Montague
fake one,
Center,
though.
yeah.
That's just a replica.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a replica.
Yeah.
How about that? A replica.
That's a sin.
If you'd like if you'd like a good laugh, I was up in Warwick and I'll send a picture of what they did. It just made me
Yeah.
laugh.
Yeah, sure.
It's not protection. It's just, I'm guessing they once had a guide board. I can probably put the pictures on, reply to all to Janice's and put the pictures
Okay.
on. It's just humor. It doesn't solve any of our
Oh,
problems.
okay. All right. Do you know of any others that actually have guide boards besides New Salem? Wasn't there one on another common somewhere east of us?
I think Miriam had talked to somebody, somebody at another town that had a one, and I don't remember what town it was.
Okay, I'll ask her. Okay.
Yeah, there was something I had on my mind here. Now I've lost it. Well, a couple of things. Just to go back. This question from Mateo. On the application, the CPC application for the grant, which, in it, it says that historical commission is responsible for its maintenance. And of course, that again, that I'm not sure that what that means precisely, but we've been actually fulfilling that function so far.
So yeah, so this was just for the gazebo, and I think that was before I knew, from when I knew that that buildings are or town buildings are maintained now by the town building committee, right?
Yes, yes.
And that's why I think they're probably reticent to sign on to something like this, is because that's more work for them.
It's possible.
But I don't know that we would be, I mean, unless that would help to sort of smooth things with the building committee in getting this thing, if that actually is their concern. But
It didn't seem to be, at least from what
yeah.
Bert and I heard, it didn't seem to be the issue there. I know what I forgot. I want to verify that it's a no-no to put it, let's say, to have it on display indoors. I mean, as far as insofar as it completely distorts its spatial relationship to the land and all that good stuff. Following the standards, right? But I'd like to verify that. So I'll look
good
into
idea.
Yeah, just I mean, because one option that the Williamstown did mention was to put it put it
Yeah.
on inside somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
So to me, that seemed like the most reasonable. Like, if you want to preserve the actual artifact itself, you put it inside. You put it in a museum-like setting where like temperature and humidity and weather conditions can be controlled. And then if you want to retain the feeling of the object, you put it back out. And this, that's sort of been standard. So I was surprised when I saw that,
Mhm.
because it seems,
when you saw what?
well, just that
The suggestion.
that the suggestion that a replica is frowned upon.
Oh yeah.
It seems to me like if what you're interested in is preserving the object primarily, then the replica should be the priority in getting this thing out of the conditions entirely where it might be deteriorating.
Right.
Mhm.
But, what do I know?
Well, my thought was not to do the replica actually, but to have signage, contemporary signage out there.
Mm.
But have it on display, let's say in our new library or that.
Yeah, I mean, put the current guide board in the library, positioned in such a way that the arrows are correct, right? So it's geographically correct,
Huh.
but then people will see it and it will be protected. And then build a replica, which is basically what we have, right? As Janice pointed out, like this thing's been repaired so often.
Yeah.
Build a replica that looks exactly like it, put it out there. And I mean, how many people going by would even know that it's a replica there? But the actual object, insofar as there still is an original object to, be protected, would be removed from the elements. I mean, Venice did this, right? Museums do, like, this is what museums do when they have outdoor objects that are deteriorating. My hometown does this in Salem. I mean, it's just,
With CPC, can we get funding for a replica?
no. So the CPA funding would not pay for the replica. It would pay for preservation. It would not pay for interpretive signage and things like that. But
How would we reconcile that though with what Jen Doherty was saying from the Massachusetts Historical Commission, that there should be no replicas at all?
that's what I'm saying. I was baffled by when I saw her email. I was like, that seems to me counter to the idea of preserving the object.
Yeah.
Because what you're saying is it is preferable to put the object in the situation where it will either be exposed to the elements and deteriorate, or require ahistorical things added to it, a glass box, a gazebo, or whatever, as opposed to actually protecting the original object and replacing it with something that looks exactly the same, but if it weathers, can be repaired without having to worry about the Secretary of the Interior standards of preservation. Like, to me, that last option seems most reasonable. I was baffled when I saw that email.
Well, no, what I was thinking was not to replicate it, but rather, just have signage out there, with contemporary signage, and you put the thing someplace where it would be preserved, on display.
I don't think the library plan has any room for it, so I think the conversation is a little moot. I'm going to mute myself because there's noise in my background, but I just wanted to let you know that somehow, and it was quite a while back, Mary Ann saw me entering the town hall one day when she was, and she said, "I just want you to know there is not room in the library for that." And I said, I'm not really a voting member. I don't have any say in it, but I think if you talk to Mary Ann, you're going to find that it's not an option anyway.
I
Yeah.
seem to remember something about that. Yeah.
Well, so somebody asked her about this?
Somehow, well, these are public meetings. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I haven't asked her at all.
No, but what I'm saying is she heard of it, and she kind of thinks of me as historical commission because of previous years. And I told her it's nothing to do with me, but she did make it very clear that she did not feel, and you could ask her, maybe she'd say something different to someone else, but she very clearly told me there is no room in the library for the guide board.
There you go. Yeah.
I remember that as well. I don't know from where, but somehow.
So
I have a historical question, Henry.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we put Ripton back on the signpost?
Isn't it on? It should be on there, right? It's not on there.
I don't think it is. I don't know when it got taken off, but I don't think it is.
It's not on there. No.
It got peeled off the last time. It's not original for sure. It's been on and off and on and off. And the last time there was a sticker, and then the sticker was peeled off and painted over. I just don't know. I'm staying out of that one too.
Yeah.
I would think it's an important part of the signpost, the legend.
More recent, yes. Yeah.
It falls under number 4 on the standards for preservation, right? Changes to a property that have acquired historic significance in their own right.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. That's true. It could be.
Okay.
We'll have to have the town vote on it.
All right, we got a bit of homework to do.
Okay.
See how quickly we can get it done. And yeah, I want just I'm not sure we have much of an update on the other issues on that agenda. As far as the and we spend a lot of time on this, and this is really the work for the moment.
Yeah.
But I did want to mention that there are grants that circulate, and this I got through the I guess through Massachusetts Preservation. This network, this list that
Lesser. Yeah.
stuff. And let's see if I can show that. Hold on one second. Ooh. I guess not. Oh boy. No, it's
So there was some, Henry, that you thought might be relevant for us.
well, yeah, there was one. I'll just talk about it. It's seed money that we might apply for it. And I don't like, I'd have to. Jesus,
Okay.
disappeared.
Well, you can always send it around to us or something.
Yeah, I'll just send it to you. All right. Any other comments on this? We'll wrap it up, I think, for tonight.
Nope, so we're meeting on well, we'll meet
17th.
on the 10th with the select board if we
That's right.
have stuff that we're ready to do and feel
Yeah.
comfortable doing it.
Mhm.
I think even if we don't have a lot of new alternatives and stuff like that, to maybe at least discuss it with the select board to see where they're coming from on it, how much they want to depend on the building committee's um, opinion and, what they think about, preserving the things that we're, paying to have fixed. Just,
This would be an informal consultation with me.
yeah, just some feedback.
Yep.
If we're not ready to get an approval and try to get the
Mhm.
grant application in, by the next week.
Yep. Yeah, it sounds like a plan.
Okay, so the 10th and the 17th.
Yep.
Okay. And now, do you have to post it if we're going to have a quorum possibly at the select board meeting?
Can everybody make it, first of all? Should
I,
we?
I can't make the select board meeting, so I won't be there.
Okay. I could.
Do we need to have quorum to be there? I mean, I don't. I mean,
Not to present, only if we're having a concurrent meeting with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's all right.
If we're making a decision, like if we're voting on something. But if
Yeah,
it's
we
just
don't have to do that.
sharing stuff with them, then we don't have to.
Okay. All right. That's good. Thanks.
It doesn't hurt to post it just in case something comes up that you wanted to, if there's time.
Oh, yeah,
That's the
no,
only reason to do it. And if you don't have a quorum, there's no need to take minutes, and probably you could just use the select board meeting minutes anyway.
Okay.
It's safer just in case you decide, oh, should debate about this a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Are you,
But if you don't have a quorum, then you can't.
yeah, Leslie, you're saying that I should post us as meeting on the 10th.
If it's possible that you have a quorum, it's just a safe thing to do. So if the select board asks you something, you can discuss it amongst yourselves. But if you don't have a quorum, you can't discuss
Yep.
things amongst yourselves anyway. And I'm
Yep.
not sure where you'll be standing on a quorum on the 10th.
Yeah, I could reserve a spot just in case.
I
Yeah,
was gonna say you should talk to the select board so that we could at least potentially talk to them.
Okay.
or Grace will know, can we just I think you post your own meeting separately for the time on the select board agenda, for the time that you're on the select board agenda.
Mhm. Okay. Anything
Okay.
else? We should be looming large here as the time ticks.
Do we have a meeting on the 17th?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, at 7.
Okay.
All right. Any other unanticipated business you'd like to bring up?
Nope.
I'll just let Janice know that Janet Puffer was in the assessor's office with her husband Steve again today. And she reminded me again that she's third on the list to being the oldest.
And counting. I know, and I keep thinking about that, the golden cane, and then I've been involved with other things, so I haven't done any of my homework here. So
Please
I will
don't put it to the top burner, because I think it's just easiest to wait till she's at the top of the list.
If
But
you find
it did occur to me, speaking of
yeah,
new business, she and Steve took up a good hour of my time that I docked from my assessor's hours today, just talking about old times and stuff. And I don't know, but I might want to just have an oral interview with them sometime.
Nice.
I don't know whether, I would definitely donate the thumb drive to the commission.
Oh.
I have no use for it, but I don't know if we would make it a big public thing. I think they do well, just, one or two people that are around,
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
get the video camera out and start to asking him questions. And Steve really just talks all by himself. He doesn't need any questions. But I'm not a full member anymore, so I wanted to see how people felt about that.
I think that'd be great to get as much, historical information from residents as you can. And if you want someone to be
I was
there,
gonna say, yeah, I'll
know.
definitely tell you guys, if you think, I didn't mention it to them, but
Yeah.
as they were leaving an hour later, while the butters list stood waiting, I thought, she's 90 something, he's right behind her. They're not going to be around. And he was
Yeah.
listing, he said that like on 202, when they were building 202 for the Quab, and he could list which company built the section between Pelham and Shutesbury, and
Wow.
which section between Shutesbury and New Salem, and which company did New Salem to Orange. And he's got just a eclectic bunch of little facts and
Oh,
recollections. And I was talking about the High Bridge on Leverett Road that was had shiny railings, and
wow.
reminding me, which I know, but everybody here should know, that there was a bridge. It's a big 10-foot culvert now that they used trolley car tracks from North Amherst for supports, and it was called the High Bridge, and it went out in one flood, I think maybe in 55, I'd have to recheck that. But because the trolley car tracks were so heavy, they're still there. They're on the south side of Leverett Road, where the road goes over the Roaring Brook. And there's a wonderful historic dam there too. But anyway, I'm getting off track. The thing is, if you don't care, I will just go ahead and ask them if they'd like to do it. And if they would, I'd ask them when they would like to, and ask them if they would like people, or if they'd like to do it
Right.
quietly, just
Sure.
the two of them, or see how it goes and let you guys know if that's okay.
Sure.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm amazed how time flies. I remember buying firewood from Steve.
I bet you did. Oh yeah, he got talking about that, and he was telling me who owned it before Ted Fisher, Sirius before Ted Fisher, and how much they paid.
Oh my goodness.
And then he started talking about Lizzie Forsyth, which was Mary Forsyth's mother, and how Mildred Webb Millie, he called her, used to
Oh.
babysit for David and John Puffer. It's just very eclectic, but it's cute.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. And he says, and his memory seems so good on other things, that the plazas actually dammed up Baker Reservoir. I always thought, because it's called Baker Reservoir, that John Baker must have, but he said, oh no, it used to be just a swamp, but the plazas dammed it. So
Oh, interesting.
it's just interesting stuff to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
None of it verified. Well, the deeds, he was absolutely right to the spelling of the people who sold the Sirius community property to Ted Fisher, because I
Wow.
checked that in the deed.
Huh. Wow.
And
that's
the
pretty
amount of
good.
money. He was off by $100.
Wow.
Oh, it'd be
Cool.
interesting to look at that. Yeah, no, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
I'll keep after him then.
Good.
So anybody call the meeting to order to
Oh.
retire?
I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Okay, the time is 8:21 approximately. 8:20.
I have 21, but okay.
I guess I'll second it.
Okay.
I just go around. Fernandez,
Aye.
Geddes, aye. Pangalo,
Aye.
Stone.
Hi.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll be in
Night.
touch. We'll be in touch.
Okay. Thanks.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Right.